sure raising hell today in California was demonstrated against Trump, weren't
yeah.
they? Woo.
Yeah, the tolerant, intolerant.
Yeah, they're not tolerant.
Yeah, I know, it was a euphemism.
Most of them were Mexican flags.
Yeah, bust in from Mexico. Because they sure can afford that lifestyle that he was given. Costa Mesa, that's the
And I believe in immigration. I think, that's what this country's made of, but legal immigration. Gotta be
Absolutely.
legal. But it's not just Mexico that's busting them in. They're coming from everywhere.
So anyways, I don't know if you guys know some of the problems at the hospital here, but it was interesting to note this. It says the U.S. Government Accountability Office found similar problems in Las Vegas, New Orleans, and Orlando, which caused overruns of nearly $1.5 billion. And I told you about what I found out, that they didn't put lead in the operating room, so they couldn't do surgery there because they couldn't take x-rays. I mean, really? That's a no-brainer, guys.
Last time I was out the ENT, getting my throat check and that. Of course, the doctors all know we do the show, and they really bend your ear.
Ready?
Doctor usually
1
schedules
minute.
us for
1
the
minute.
last appointment of the day at 4 o'clock. We don't leave till 6 o'clock.
But his comment was, look around. I says, what? He says, if somebody had a heart attack here, we don't have a crash cart. We don't have anything we can help you with. Call 911.
How sad.
I'm surprised they wouldn't have a defibrillator there.
Nothing. All right. Here we go. Good evening and welcome to Veterans Talk, The Forgotten Promise. This is Jim Littner along with R.J. Doe and our special guest this evening, Dr. Annette Chihiro. Good evening, Dr. Annette.
Good evening, Jim. Good evening, RJ. How are you?
Good.
Well, you got in on the last Friday night show. This is our last show this year. We are going to stick strictly to the Saturday show from noon to 2 and start focusing on our Veterans Transition Resource Center. You were out there the other evening at an event we had with Concerned Veterans for America. What did you think?
Hey, I always love to go out to that center because it has so much promise. But you know what? You save the best for last.
What's that?
Well, you saved the best for last. You saved me for the last
That's
show.
exactly right. But Dr. Annette, you are running for Congress.
I am.
What would possess you to get into politics today?
Well, you know, I am ultimately a public servant. As a physician, you're the ultimate public servant anyway. And Congress needs people who are public servants, not career politicians or bought and paid for candidates.
But as a public servant, in the doctor side of it, you have some control over it. In the political side of it, what control do you have?
Well, we contribute a lot on the political side. Actually, for 15 years, I have interfaced with the state legislature to help with healthcare policy. Because what's happened for your listeners out there is that healthcare has become more and more controlled by our government. You know, those private decisions that we used to have before are now being made by third parties, more and more than they ever were. And just to demonstrate how much Obamacare took over a lot of the portion, and our Veterans Administration system is just hemorrhaging at the seams. Now, I worked in the Veterans Administration system back in the mid to late 80s, and in the early 90s as a medical student and as a resident. So I am keenly aware of the problems that we had, and all they've done is gotten worse and worse and worse. And every single time, even as a medical student, I used to remember looking at our veterans, our heroes, people that I look up to, and you've always been so patient in a system that just, yes, it gives some service, but some people don't make it.
Well, the system is overwhelmed, way understaffed, and in many cases underpaid. If the VA does not start working and partnering with private sector, not-for-profits like our Veterans Transition Resource Center, I don't believe we will be able to fulfill or even begin to fulfill the promises we have made our veterans and their families.
Well, it's a multi-pronged problem, because what you just said that it's understaffed. Well, actually, it's overstaffed on the administrative side and overpaid on the administrative side.
And no
Right.
accountability on the administrative side.
Yes, as our OIG reports have shown, there are people who move themselves into positions that have less responsibility, same pay, and pay themselves moving fees that are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then they just get to go back to work after a little administrative leave. Do you know how much health care I could have delivered for that hundreds of thousands of dollars?
If you want to talk about the exact price, it was $400,000, and the two ladies reassumed their SES, which is Special Executive Services
Yes.
positions, which are higher paying than general officers in the military.
And by higher paying, you also admit that they have more control over the administration, which is scary, because already they've been proven to be irresponsible and unaccountable.
Except to themselves. They're making sure they're accountable themselves because there's stuff in their pockets.
Yes, but the VA system is supposed to be helping our veterans.
Since we are in a political year, an election year, I'm surprised at how little some of our people running for office really know about our veterans. Now, we're hearing some of the lip service, but prior to this, they were not involved with our veterans. They could have cared less about our veterans. Now they're running off of the back of our veterans. And I'm angry at that. Now, as you know, we are not a political show. We stick to the veterans issues. That's what our Veterans Transition Resource Center is about. And that's what this show has been about for 5 years. We have people on that will address the issues. We have not had one incumbent on this show yet. Not one. Now, why is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, it's easy to do photo ops, and it's easy to promise things when you want to get elected. But then when you're going to be held accountable, then you may not want to come back and have that dirty laundry aired. You know, I honestly, my husband, as you well know, is a Vietnam era vet. He believes that since he does okay, he doesn't really want to partake of using the benefits in the Veterans Administration system. He wants that for people that can't access any other type of health care. And I respect that choice in him. And I think that if I was in his position, I would probably choose the same too. However, it doesn't stop me from having a heart about all the veterans that I know, all of my good friends and family members that have had a rough time with the veteran system. And again, I'm not saying that people don't get health care, but what I'm saying is we're not doing it cost effectively, and we're also not affording the veteran who's gone the extra mile to be able to have health care that's easily accessible to them. We keep putting roadblocks.
Well, when you have a bureaucracy like we have in the VA system, the largest healthcare system in the world, by the way, it's huge.
Yes.
But the lack of accountability and the bureaucracy, and that will not change until we change our representatives.
That's absolutely right, because the power of Congress is not being exercised anymore. The power of Congress is the power of the purse. So if an agency, a bureaucratic agency, does not answer its mission statement, it is Congress's responsibility to call them back in and say, okay, you're not doing well here. We're going to find a better way of doing this. And by the way, your funding is cut for XYZ. That's our responsibility. That's how we keep agencies accountable. I and my husband for a very, very long time have wondered why veterans cannot have a health insurance card. And if they can't get in to see their Veterans Administration personnel, why a veteran cannot go out into the community, why they have to travel 40, 50, 60 miles to be able to see somebody inside of the Veterans Administration system who may not even be as qualified as the private sector.
Well, that was the idea behind the choice card. After Phoenix happened several years ago, they came out with a choice card to really settle the public down. The public was finally outraged at what happened in Phoenix. Actually, it happened several times prior to Phoenix. We
It
Oh,
happened
it
in
did.
LA too.
You know what?
And it happened in Reno.
Right.
I mean, it happened all the way across. It is not just a few select
Right.
centers.
But the choice card was put in place to settle people down, and now the public said, well, the veterans they got a choice now. They're okay. They're fine.
Yes. But
Until we started reporting of all the strings attached. First of all, the doctor had to refer you. The doctor had to be approved. I mean, it goes on and on.
mhm.
And at that, we're going to take a short break. We are on live this evening. Give us a call, 702-257-5396. Or out of the area, 800-414-1056. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're going to
It
get
doesn't.
into,
It doesn't really. It's all on paper. The
we're going to
choice
get
card
into
is
talking about these politicians that are either running or in office
Mhm.
that have these huge war chests, but what have they done for the veteran? And those are the questions I want to get people thinking about. Start asking those questions. They sound good on these commercials.
Yeah, but
What
I
have
want to
they
know
really
when
done?
Danny Tarkanian has taken a veteran over to the Veterans Hospital. I want to know when he's answered a call from a veteran that can't get the care that they need, like the one that I buried last Friday. I want to know when he's done that. Because he hasn't.
Why not? Oh, believe me, you know.
So, anyways, I'm appalled. And everybody's jumping on his
We all
bandwagon.
should be.
Well, they're jumping on the bandwagon of money. Buys that. Really, we should just see who raises the most money and just give them the position. The way that I hear pundits, you know, even on our side, supposedly like Chuck Norris and
30
Kevin
seconds.
Wall, that's what you just need to do. You just need to hand it to them. They deserve to
You
win,
can get most
even though they're crooks.
and RJ would just bet together.
30 seconds. Welcome back to Veterans Talk, The Forgotten Promise. This is Jim Littner along with R.J. Doe and our special guest this evening, Dr. Annette Tejero, running for Congress. We have Dr. Tejero on here because we are interested in their viewpoints, all of the politicians' viewpoints, on our veterans. And Dr. Tejero just happens to have some insight that most don't. Your husband is a Vietnam era veteran. You're a doctor. You worked in the VA system when you're a medical student. You have a little bit of a jump up on most. Now, we have some politicians running that's got huge war chests. But if we were to ask them, what veterans things have you been involved in? When is the last time you were out at the VA hospital? Go through that series of questions. And that's what I want our listeners to do. I'm independent. I vote for who I think will do the best job for us. And I don't care which side they sit on. And Senator Spearman's on one side, Chris Edwards is on the other, and they formed the Nevada Veterans Council. Fantastic group. They're on opposite sides. That shows people can work together, but they're both veterans. 28-year veterans, I might add. Those are the kinds of representatives that we need in Washington. Over 80% of the representatives in Washington have never served in the military. No wonder we have the mess we've got.
Well, and they also may not have even had a family member inside of the Veterans Administration system. So when we talk about this, I want to know, out of all of my opponents in this race, you realize that I was the only one at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Fisher House.
Really?
I was the only one. Yes.
Interesting.
None of them were there.
Now, let me bring up some stats that I talked about on Saturday's show. Of the, I guess, the 5 remaining candidates, Sanders, Clinton, Trump, Cruz, and Kasich, couldn't think of his name. We looked at their web pages, and the percentage of their web pages dedicated to veterans had some interesting facts to share on that. Now, I'm going to ask, and you may know the answer, who had less than 1% of their website dedicated toward veterans? And if you guess Hillary, you're right.
That's what I would have guessed, actually. I was going to guess Hillary.
And,
But
you know, I'm not saying that one's better than the other, but another candidate has 30% of his website dedicated to veterans.
probably Trump.
It is Trump.
It is. I know it is.
So I found that kind of interesting that nobody's really looking at veterans here.
Well, first of all, I wanted to correct Jim because I'm not a politician. I'm still a public servant and will always be a public servant. I don't like the word politician because a lot of these people choose a career to do so.
I agree.
So I have been a public servant in this community for decades, and I will continue to be a public servant.
Well, we will not get involved in politics from the standpoint of being a platform or a springboard for any of these people running for office. We focus on our veterans, and we have this year. After the first year, we took our gloves off. We had become so politically correct, we had lost our freedom of speech on this show. So we took our gloves off to the heck with it. We are going to start having people on, stay focused on our veterans issues. And to date, and I'm not endorsing anybody, I have my own personal thoughts, but to date, the 2 people that we have had the most on this show that have answered our question has been Denise Davis running for the U.S. Senate and you, Dr. Annette Tejero. Why can't we get people to step up? I'll tell you why, because they don't know the issues
No, they don't.
and they're afraid of the questions that we will ask. And my question of any of these incumbents particularly is when we had a VA inspector report that we read 3 months ago on the show now.
You remember I sent it to you and you
Yes.
said, yes, I just got through reading that.
Over 300,000 veterans died because they could not reach
Exactly.
health care in time. I would ask any incumbent, how could you possibly allow that to happen on your watch? Maybe they can answer it, but I would sure love to hear that answer.
You know, I don't know what their answers are going to be. I know that you and I have been through that report and a much more recent report on the suicide crisis line where our veterans were being put on hold. I mean, that is, if there's anything you know about a suicide crisis line, you don't put anybody on hold because that's dangerous. If someone is in a crisis situation, the last thing they want to do is stay on hold and not have another human being on the other line, at least to talk them down from what the crisis is. But that seems to be par for the course for people such as my opponents, that they're not informed. But I remember sharing those 2 reports with you because I'm aware of these things.
We need representatives that know the issues. And once again, we are on live. Give us a call, 702-257-5396. Out of the Las Vegas area, 800-414-1056. Our special guest tonight, Dr. Annette Tejero, running for Congress. Our topic, of course, veterans issues. And we need politicians, elected representatives, you don't like the term politicians, elected representatives
There you go.
that know the issues.
Well, they have to know the issues. And the other thing that they have to do is, you talked about the Veterans Choice Card.
Right.
And in actuality, that's a fancy, wonderful wordsmith thing that happened on paper. But none of our elected representatives at this point in time actually have kept tabs on how the obstacles, the administrative obstacles, have been placed in front of our veterans. So there has to be real time with your representative to say, okay, I want all the veterans in my district to give me a feedback, give me a scorecard when you try and use this. And then I take that to Congress and say, how come this isn't happening? How come we said that this is what this was going to do, but how come it's not following through? Because having that card is much like Obamacare. Having an insurance card does not guarantee you access to health care.
I think that's the issue, access. Once we get through the paperwork, all of the nonsense, when we finally reach the care in the VA system, it's pretty good. Really is pretty good. But the wait times and the people that die waiting to get that care, there's no excuse for that.
And it's not
None.
acceptable.
Not at all.
It's not acceptable. You're talking about people that put their lives on the line for all of us to be able to have our freedoms. And you cannot and you should not be proud of a system that does that. It is one of the reasons that I never liked the federal government taking on Obamacare, because they had failed so miserably in my eyes with the veterans, which are our heroes. And they had failed so miserably in keeping tabs and rejuvenating and adjusting Medicare and Medicaid, which they help administer, that they had no business taking on the other 85% of the private insurance industry.
We want our listeners to really think of these questions and ask the representatives you're thinking about voting for. Ask those questions. What has your previous involvement been with veterans? These fancy commercials and these big war chests, don't let them go out and buy your vote.
Well, they outright lie. You know that, Jim.
Oh, sure they do.
They say things like, I'm an accomplished conservative, or I'm the most well thought of by veterans, or I've been endorsed by such and such. But the truth of the matter is, just look at their life history. If you go to my website, AnnetteForCongress.com, there's a list of the things that I've done for free. And I've done them in this community for decades. My first volunteer job was at the age of 12. And it was helping developmentally disabled children who were institutionalized at the age of 12. You know, in 1980, when the MGM fire happened, and I and my mother helped all of those individuals that lost their jobs out of no fault of their own. They could not go back to work. The MGM had basically burned down. We helped them connect with services inside of our community so that they would not be helpless and hopeless. And like that, I've done that all of my time. When I came back as a physician, being involved with healthcare policy, when the malpractice crisis happened, there's so many times that I've answered that crisis call. So I want to know how my opponents can even light a candle to what I've done. They can't, so they have to lie and exaggerate their records.
Well, I think people are finally fed up. I believe we are starting to see that on a federal level as well as a state level. And we need to start asking those questions. And once we elect these people, hold them accountable. Don't sit around and wait for somebody to tell you what you want to hear, and then they lie to you. You turn right around and re-elect them again. Doesn't make sense.
Well, we need to it's almost in the direction by now. It's almost in the direction that the ones that you get the glossy mailers from and the ones that you get those wonderful robocalls from on a regular basis that are very, very annoying, it's almost like, to me, those are the ones that you don't want to vote for. You want to vote for the ones that you see out in the community, that you know personally, that you've actually reached out to and you've researched. Those are the ones that are going to be much more genuine, because the other guys that have all this war chest to send you all that glossy material and put up those fancy ads, their vote's already been bought and paid for.
Or take a strong look at what personal gains they have during their terms. And we have a few in office right now.
Can I quote one of them?
Well,
I made my riches through sound investments.
yes. Okay.
That's Harry Reid.
There you go. He's not
Yeah.
running again. But anyway.
Now he's not running, he's already a multimillionaire,
That's
but we can cite a bunch of them that are multimillionaires. And it just kind of happened. They happened to make the right investment.
But there's some self-serving going on big time.
Yes.
Even with some of our current ones. Self-serving, personal gain.
Mhm.
That is not the reason they're there. They are there to serve us. Our personal gain, not theirs.
It's not supposed to be a permanent career.
Right.
You know, it was written in the Constitution that you would serve your country and then go back. You would be a representative and then go back to the life that you had. I do not recall George Washington spending 4, 5, 6 terms. Didn't happen.
You know, one of my favorite quotes is from George Washington, and he said, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional as to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation." Our veterans are not being treated very well, both active duty and the health care and the benefits once they get out. We have gutted our military. We are in trouble, and we better wake up.
Very serious trouble, actually, because a country that does not respect their heroes and a country that does not respect lives cannot be respected by other countries. And our foreign policy shows it.
It is time to clean house and put people in.
I'm ready.
Outsiders, if you want to call them outsiders, fine. That is what this country was founded on. Outsiders. People went to Washington, worked, did their job, went back to their farms and businesses, and they were not career politicians.
And we just met one when we mediated a town hall with Crescent Harvey.
We sure did.
He's got a construction business,
You
and
bet.
he said, "I'm not in here for life. I want to go back and run my company."
You bet. Great guy. I liked Congressman Hardy. At that, we're going to take another short break. Please stay tuned. Our special guest tonight, Dr. Netzie Harold. Give us a call. We're live, 702-257-5396. We'll be right back after this. Oh, we're hitting them harder now?
I don't know. We're not getting any calls.
Not on Friday night.
Everybody's out
They're
partying,
listening.
huh?
Everybody's driving.
They're listening.
Driving.
Yeah, goodness.
I got to
Don't
watch
start
Jeopardy
doing
way
that.
over there.
What
Don't
is
start
television?
We got to head out of the show and up to Mesquite. We got one hero at a time up there tomorrow. We're doing a remote show.
So what do you do for your remote show? Is it a special show for a particular event?
We do a lot of remote shows. If it falls within our time frame, we will do the show at that event.
Mm.
Just one hero at a time. And my nephew started 7 years ago.
Do you ever go to Laughlin?
We have.
How's your reception over there?
We can broadcast anywhere. We can go anywhere and do the remotes. If we can get access to the internet, doesn't matter where you're at.
Hmm. Wow. Mm. As long as these guys, I mean, Dina Titus is another one. She sits on that committee, and
But you know
I don't
what?
know.
Dina is trying to do something. for the
trying, but she's kind of not.
veterans. She's done more than any of the rest of them.
Yeah.
She's sure done more than Joe.
Isn't that embarrassing?
I'm really disappointed in her. I helped him get elected the first time.
I can see how he's knocking on your door right now.
I spoke at the Women's
You know what?
Republican meeting out at Red Rock, and his guy skirted me like I had a disease.
You know, he actually asked Danny if he would run in his phone.
If we what?
If he would run in his phone. Danny Turkana to run in his phone. Why would you ask a 4-time loser to run in your phone?
There's some under the table manipulating going on.
No, you know what it is, and this is the dirty little secret. The parties are more concerned about how much money you're going to raise for the party than they are about how you're going to represent them. And honestly, that's why our country's burning to the ground.
You're right. Agreed. Pure greed.
Greed, corruption. That's what it is.
Absolutely right.
So, anyways, I just thought you might like to know that. Because although he says he didn't endorse anybody, he doesn't correct anyone when he says that.
30 seconds.
Bring it back.
Good evening and welcome back to your Veterans Radio Network with our final edition of Veterans Talk, the Forgotten Promise Friday edition. This is RJ Adele along with Jim Lintner and special guest Dr. Annette Tejero talking about the VA, the veterans, and a whole lot of stuff that's going on that shouldn't be.
A lot of things are going on that shouldn't be, but a public servant, somebody wanting to, as I said, politician earlier, somebody wanting to be a public servant, you wonder today why. Well, unfortunately, with all the mudslinging going on, all the dirty politics that's taking place out there, the greed, and I think the point is correct when you say the parties are more interested in the money that person could raise and put in the coffers than they are the people. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Pure greed, a lot of corruption, both sides of the fence. I believe there's one particular representative that they would do anything to stop, and that's Donald Trump. And I'm not endorsing Donald Trump, but either side, both sides together, would do anything to stop that man.
Well, anyone who is a threat to them, who does not need to beg for money and does not really follow that pay-to-play model is a threat to the system. You know, I can name some of my opponents that have a lot of money. They're not a threat to the system because they will be bringing money, advertisement dollars, fund to the, central committees. That's all that they care about. And they will sell us out. And I think that is what your listeners are irritated and angry about. I know I am. To watch someone invest a small amount of money by giving $2,700 maximums and their friends in the company doing that, so that you have less than a couple of hundred people, in essence, buying a seat in Congress. And therefore, because they do that, they get special benefits, whether that be buying land at pennies on the dollar that belongs to the people, whether that be rearranging traffic routes so that that land that they just bought at pennies on the dollar end up becoming hundreds of thousands of dollars a square foot. Those are things.
Insider trading?
Well, according to our congressional members, no, not at all.
Well, this goes beyond our shores too, and I bring that up
It
because
does.
I lived in Guam. In 1996, President Clinton visited Guam and visited the governor of Guam, Governor Gutierrez. They had their little meeting. President Clinton walked in empty-handed. He walked out with a briefcase, contents unknown. But at the same time, Governor Gutierrez spent over $1 million on his re-election campaign on a little island that's 38 miles long and a half mile wide at its skinniest point and about 5 miles wide at its widest point. Can you believe that? $1 million for that small of a section of people.
And to our listeners, here's your opportunity. Give Dr. Annette a call and ask her the questions. 702-257-5396, 702-257-5396. Toll free out of the Las Vegas area, 800-414-1056. We would love to hear your questions or comments. Here's an opportunity. Voice your opinion. We would love to hear it tonight.
Well, and your listeners also need to know the difference between a doctor and somebody else, such as a lawyer. Doctors take a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. And I didn't just take that oath for a little while. That's a lifelong oath that I take once I wear that mantle of being a doctor. So you can trust me to do no harm. I don't know, and I can't speak for the other people, because there is no Hippocratic oath for lawyers or journalists or people who may not have even graduated from high school. There is no Hippocratic oath for people with masters in business, and I could go down the line, but ultimately, I have made an oath to my community, and I deal in life and death situations, and I make sure it's
So do
life.
politicians.
Well, they do, but they don't take accountability for
Right.
their actions. You know, when veterans die, hundreds of thousands of them waiting, and we don't hold them accountable.
In the military, we take an oath too,
We sure
I
do.
know you do.
and it's one that's sometimes very difficult to hold up to.
You know, I spent the majority of my life in the mortgage lending industry, and we had what was called truth in lending. We should have truth in politics. There should be a law.
Well, one of my opponents happens to have a magazine that talks about truth in politics. The only problem is that that particular opponent wouldn't know what truth is if it hit her in the face. So it is the way that it is.
Truth in politics. What a novel idea. What do you think, RJ?
It'll never fly.
It won't fly.
Unless some politician is shoving money in their pocket
Well,
while they're selling the book.
Ugh. No,
Yeah.
there has to be truth. You know what? The truth shall always set you free.
we have to make sure this time that we get it right. We really don't have a lot of time left. The way this country's going and the corruption that we see with our representatives, we are in trouble.
We're in serious trouble. I see it probably more than the average American because of my father coming from Cuba and having to realize that government can literally take everything that you have away from you overnight, including your life. So I see it on a much more acute level than most Americans who have never gone through that. Remember, I'm a first generation born American in the United States. My mother's an American citizen by birth, but she's Puerto Rican. But I'm the first one born. And you have an awesome respect when you're able to speak to family members that built up an entire financial profile in Cuba. My grandfather was originally from Spain. He built his entire fortune in Cuba. He started working as a laborer on the docks and built an entire import and export business, along with a canning factory and all kinds of things that he did. To have that man who worked from the very bottom to reach what he did, have everything in his life taken away from him as far as monetary, including his freedom. Such an awesome individual. I wish you guys would have met him, because he did not master the English language, but he would always try and talk to everybody in English, and he would carry around his little dictionary. So my grandmother and my aunt love shopping, and I know that men don't like shopping. So he would wait in the mall, and he would find people that would sit down on the bench next to him, and he would start to talk to them about an sundry of different issues. He talked about just about anything. And that was my grandfather. They didn't steal his facility of, capacity to think, but they stole his brain.
But most people don't think that could ever happen here. I have news for you. It is already starting to happen.
5 decades ago, the Cuban people, if you would have asked them before Castro what was going to happen, they would have been just as blind as we are here. I know, because I've spoken to many of them.
You know something, Jim? I subscribe to one of these think tank reports, and I went over this with my financial advisor and said, the banks have changed their ways. They're not looking at your money as money anymore. They are assets and liabilities, and they do anything with their assets that they want. that including, what's in your bank account, it's not your money, that's a bank asset. So it is happening right now, and it's going to get worse.
We can change it. We still have the power,
We still have the Constitution. That's the power.
but you have to have representatives that follow it.
You mean ones that actually take the oath of office to
Yes.
uphold the Constitution?
Yes.
Well, I'll be counted in that group. I don't know about anybody else.
We have to uphold our Constitution. It's a pretty smart document. And when we start taking bits and pieces of it and the greed kicks in, you see what we have today. Again, it's happening on a state level all the way up to a federal level. We have the right to change things. We have the right to vote yet. We still have the right to criticize.
We do, but we do have to actively pursue it.
Yes.
If you
Oh, yeah.
understood how many wonderful people out there have said, oh, but I'm too busy. I've got so many bills to pay. I've got a schedule that's full. And all I can say is, if your schedule's too full, it won't be when your country is gone from underneath your feet.
Well, I've read this one before, and it's, as a doctor, you may appreciate this. Scientists say the universe is made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. They forgot to mention the morons. Washington is full of them. So think about that. We have the right to change the morons.
We do. We have that awesome power. It's the first three letters of our Constitution. We the people. We the people can determine everything. We can stop paying attention to the fancy ads and the slick ads that come in our mailbox, and we can actually pay attention to electing people that have done a lifelong example of what needs to be done. I'm one of those people.
Well, at that, we are going to take another short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Oh, can you mention, we have a
We
couple
got some of these
Yes,
things
we
we
do.
gotta read.
the
We gotta pitch
Facebook
that for
parties that they
sure.
can look on Facebook.
And
We have that
you can run some copies up there of
Yes,
the,
and
what
And
do
then
you call it?
the artisan,
The
So this is
page with the release on it.
I got the pages with it, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We need to run some of those up there.
and that's with the Arts and Craft Festival,
Love them
Yeah.
pages.
with the veterans. It's just one of the-
military and veterans.
Military and
Oh,
veterans.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then our Facebook parties that are listed on Facebook.com.
.com. Facebook.com/Annette Tejero
Yeah, I'll
/videos.
spell it for them because they won't be able to.
Yeah, and then
Do you know Joe Wild?
Oh. It doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, he's a lobbyist, attorney, lives in our neighborhood.
Good person. Oh, I love this. Andy Matthews is supposedly running as an outsider, right? You know that he's a lobbyist. I'm like, hey, dude, you're not an outsider. You're part of the problem. I will admit that he's an ineffective lobbyist at that, but
you take the mic right in between.
yeah,
these.
let's get these events
This
in so
mic.
that we have
Can you get one of these
So-
guys
so
with the
you
mic
saw
in the
this?
back? Can you blur this out?
military and
Get that?
veteran salute at the Suncoast. And did you get that?
I didn't hear you.
Did you see this event? This is for May 22nd.
Military and veteran salute.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta do it
So they're
from
going
the
to benefit the Las Vegas VFW.
Okay, we're gonna read off some things that are coming up right now. You can,
Okay. So I got those.
okay, 30 seconds.
So you're going to keep that there, or are you going to let me see that?
You can watch it if you want.
No.
Oh.
I'll move that one over.
Oops.
Yeah, that's good enough.
And welcome back to Veterans Talk, The Forgotten Promise. This is Jim Littner along with R.J. Doe. And our special guest this evening, Annette Tejero, running for Congress. Our topics, of course, veterans issues. Before we get down to our last minutes here, and once again, we want to announce this is our last Friday night show. We've enjoyed it, but we are focusing in on our Veterans Transition Resource Center. We are still going to be on noon to 2 o'clock every Saturday. And eventually, hopefully over the next 30 days or so, we will have the studio finished at the Veterans Transition Resource Center, and we'll be broadcasting from there and streaming at the same time. We're working with Phil Valentine and a group of people to put that studio together, and we are excited about it. We have some things we want to read here that's coming up. American Legion Post 40 has their 5th annual Fun Car Cruise In. That's on May 14th, 2 weeks from now. Once again, we're going to be the recipient of some of that. So come out and visit with us. American Legion Post 40, 5th Annual Fun Car Cruise In, May 14th, noon to 5 p.m. Great cars. I've been to that. They really do a great job. $15 registration includes a t-shirt. Registration day of the show prior to 10 a.m. 3 plaques awarded, limited to 45 cars. And they do fill up. There's really some pretty neat cars out there. 50-50 drawing, raffle, and prizes. Again, American Legion Posts in Henderson, Nevada on Van Wagenen. Come on out and see us.
It's
That's
just down
420
from the Eagles.
That's 425 East Van Wagenen. If you want information, you can call 702-565-5433.
You know something, Jim, we got something else coming up that's really, really important. And it's something that we're going to be doing at our center. It's called the Veteran to Veteran Healing Project. And it's a post-trauma stress study research study. And we're going to conduct it at the center. And if you would like to participate, you need to send your information to, I got the name right here. I thought I had the name. Yes, I do. Send your information to Suzanne Connolly at 70 Payne, P-A-Y-N-E Place, Suite 6 in Sedona, Arizona, 86336. And what you're signing up to, you send your name and address, how to contact you, and that. They'll contact you and go over the rest of the details with you. But one of the things they're going to be teaching is thought field therapy, which I'm sure you're familiar with. The name I know it by is TAP therapy. So, and it's something a veteran can use once they learn how to do it to help relieve some of the anxiety, some of the upstemming emotions that come with PTSD, just by tapping on parts of their body. So I think it's going to be well worthwhile. And you have to get your name and sent in to her by May 15th.
What's the phone number if they send?
There is a phone number for her. It's 928-282-2627. Or you can get a hold of Amy Frost, and her cell phone number is 909-709-8076.
Or you can call us. We have the Veterans Transition Resource Center open now. We are phasing in over the next 30, 60, and 90 days the different programs and services. And by the way, we still need plenty of furniture, fixtures, equipment, office equipment, folding tables, stacked chairs. But we have a good bit set up already, and the number there is 702-954-6300. We're not fully staffed yet. Please leave a message and we will get back to you. And Dr. Annette, you had something coming up.
I do. Hey, there is an artisan craft festival that's supposed to benefit the Las Vegas Veterans of Foreign War. And it is on May 22nd at the Suncoast Hotel and Casino. So that's supposed to be for our military and veterans as a salute to them. A lot of these things, that's on May 22nd, but there are a lot more things that we're featuring on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com. And let me spell my name so that people get it right. It's ANNETTE. And then it's last name TEIJEIRO. And it's like the old McDonald's song, E-I-E-I-O. So you put that in and you will find events that are coming up, including, Jim, as you know, we're going to be featuring maybe certain portions of the Veterans Resource Center that people can sponsor for certain amounts. And We have a Facebook party happening tomorrow on Saturday for the campaign, but it also, you guys can come by too. And we have a mansion party that's coming up on May 11th in support of our campaign. But of course, any veterans are also welcome to come. But all that stuff is on the Facebook page.
It would be
So-
great if I was bipolar, because then I could have half me at one here at a time and half of me at your event.
There
Yes,
you go. There you go.
We will be at the Casablanca in Mesquite. In fact, we are leaving the show to head to Mesquite tonight. We have
Ooh.
one hero at a time. Mesquite 4th annual benefit honoring this year's hero, Sergeant Drew Moy. Saturday, April 30th, Casablanca Showroom, Mesquite, Nevada. We are doing a live broadcast remote show there. That is a blast. The band starts at noon. They go to 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Oh my goodness.
Donations of $20 at the door. You hand it directly to that soldier and his family.
Oh, how nice.
Fantastic. What an impact. Again, it's the 4th annual one coming up there. We have the 7th annual one coming up at Joker's Wild, October 15th.
And if
Wow.
Mother Nature cooperates,
Mm.
tomorrow we'll start at 9 o'clock with an out and back motorcycle ride.
Or any
But
kind of ride. You can
I
ride
don't know if
anything.
Mother Nature will
I-
cooperate or not.
You never know, but we really do like the nice rain that we've been getting.
We
It'll
need it.
fill up our lake and clean out that atmosphere.
There you go. Well, my roof leaks.
Well, then
Not
we
too
You
need
get
much
to
so
get.
little rain, you don't know if your roof leaks. And now mine's leaking. So
Oh,
we have to get a roofer now and
another
get that.
project.
There you
Another
go.
project.
We have a lot coming up. We have Art in the Park right across from our center this year. We're going to do Art in the Park. Denise Davis is going to come down with that big canvas that she
Yes.
got rained out on.
I know it was hailing and everything. It was awful. So
I asked her if she's using watercolors that day, and she said, yeah. Anyway, they brought the canvas back. We're going to be doing a lot of activities this year. We have another one coming up here. Inspirations Las Vegas, Nevada Pulmonary Hypertension Support Group. Now, this is going to be held at Bonefish Grill on West Charleston, time 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. If you're a caregiver, you need to sit down and talk with people. They welcome all patients, family members, caregivers, healthcare professionals, and industry representatives to these meetings. They're really worth it. The caregivers, I know what we go through on our suicide intervention
exactly.
programs. You have to do some self-care, and you need to sit down. You can call the support group leader 702-427-3835. Again, 702-427-3835. Or text Penny Alexander, co-leader. Her number also 702-255-1782. Or you can text or email desertbubbles@aol.com. Desertbubbles@aol.com. That's going to be a great one, Saturday, May 7th. That's next week.
It's also Mother's Day weekend.
It is.
Oh, wow.
702-427-3835. Give them a call if you're interested. A great group to get involved in. Amy Frost is involved in doing that. We're so happy to work with Amy and her husband Ross with UNLV. What a great group of people
Oh,
starting
yes.
to come around us. It's just,
Absolutely. And you know what? This is the best example of how private nonprofits can do so much. And the government just, it's too cumbersome and too full of bureaucracy to do the things that need to be done. We should have private partnerships with our nonprofits and private businesses so that we can bring the best, the most innovative care to our veterans. And I'm not saying get rid of the VA altogether, but we do need to start looking at some other options. And I'm so excited that you guys have such a nice facility. If you haven't gone to visit, all of your listeners should go to visit your Veterans Resource Center and be looking on Facebook as we say what kinds of things you can just invest, whether it's a table, a chair, a picture for the wall, anything, so that you guys can fill that place and our veterans and their family can have a place to go.
right. You can come up online in the website.
DonateVets.org. DONATEVETS.org. And there's a donate button on there. And there's also a little slide presentation about the center.
Or Veterans Transition Resource Center.com. So look us up. We would love to hear from you. Stop out and see us. We are down to our last minute. Once again, we will be on the air tomorrow from noon to 2 o'clock from one hero at a time in Mesquite. We've enjoyed the Friday nights. Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
And before we run, we never gave you the address out to the transition center. So 2550 Nature Park Drive. It's off the 215 at Aliante on the south side of the exit behind the Carl's Jr. and brand new Capriati's.
Right on Nature Park. At that, have a great Friday night. Be safe, and we will see you tomorrow from noon to 2 o'clock.
Thanks.
Can you take pictures?
Oh, good.
They should have you on every Friday night.
Well, we were, but
We've got you guys on every
the
day.
show that's on from 5 to 6 in the morning is going to move to 6 to 7 at night, called Coach's Corner.
They wanted us to be on 5 days a week, and it's just too much. There's only so many hours in a day, and we run out of time now.
So who's gonna take over? Somebody left the facilities? A program left the facility? Or
Here,
yeah, because you're saying that they want you to be on every day of the
actually,
week.
we were filling this spot in. This was free. They just said, we need somebody to fill in Friday night. How does it work for you? And
Oh,
it was a nice segue into our Saturday show, so we said,
yeah,
well,
it is.
we'll take a run at it. Again,
Any
there's
of
a,
that that's a little bit
there's a work, work and this stuff, and it's just.
Oh yeah,
hard
you
to
have to
keep
do
up
all
with.
this prep stuff. And you guys got the resource center that you've got to
Well,
start
that's-
worrying about now.
That's really keeping us jumping.
Yeah.
We've got to get the services going. We have to get grants and money
Mm-hmm.
pulled together. That Nevada Military Alliance, hopefully,
Oh, you didn't put your phone on.
I did not. I'm surprised that didn't go off.
It usually
Oh.
does.
Hello. Hey, buddy, good. Just got off the air. Yeah, we're on Friday nights. This is our last show on Friday night. We'll stick strictly to our Saturday shows. We got to focus in on the resource center.
So did we lambast them enough?
Yeah,
Arthur?
one hero at a time. Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, we're on from noon to 2, normal time.
I think it was pretty amazing that out of all the
Good, I appreciate that.
politicians,
Yeah,
that
that'll-
Trump's the only one who
We'll
has
be doing it, that's for sure.
that much of this website dedicated to veterans.
Hey,
And
buddy.
Hillary, less than 1% of
We're
where she's saying,
She doesn't
The
care.
VA
She
is
doesn't care.
fine.
She doesn't care
I
about
know she
the poor
doesn't.
guys that died
Wrapping
in
up
her
here
back.
right
Do
now.
you
We
expect
gotta
her
go
to
down
care
the
about
school.
hundreds of thousands of veterans she's never met? She doesn't care. It doesn't make her any money. You're not giving to her foundation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
ill-gotten
Did you
gains.
put the little thingy back on those? On your
No,
microphone?
yeah, told you that. It's on my list.
On your list, on your bucket list, right?
No, it's on my to-do list. That would not be on my bucket list.
No.
Going to Antarctica is on my bucket list.
Ah,
Oh man, it's this again.
what? What happened?
But don't, yeah,
I
don't let
pushed
it,
it in and then it went.
yeah, don't let it slide down that way, because the gravity will just pound it in. We have to just push it like this. And it was-
All right, we got your earphones. You want to plug your earphones over there? The whole cord, big
Oh,
cord.
do you guys
There you go.
bring your own earphones?
The
Ah,
station doesn't furnish us.
Really? Is it your turn now?
No, I gotta
He's
set up for
the-
Ken Thompson.
And behind the board,
The gentleman over there.
behind the glass, the one I waved to.
I wish it was my turn.
You don't-